Hello, my name is Rebecca Regimbert. I'm a software developer with over 10 years of experience. I'm a self-taught software developer with 10 years of experience. And I'm making this video because I want to teach you how to become a software developer like me for free. And I'm making this video because I really like my job. And I think you can also love software development. And I think it's a great career. So I want to, share my love for this career with as many people as possible. So I created a little presentation. Hope you enjoyed. So let's begin. Okay, so how to become a software web developer for free. Part 1, how to learn the technical skills. You will notice here that I added the concept of web developer here. I'm doing this because I think web development is a great starting point into software development. So that's what I'm going to be focusing in this guide. But in this guide, I'm also going to cover lightly other areas of software developing. So if you are not interested in web development, even though I think you should, also stay. This guide doesn't require you to have any previous knowledge. So if you know how to use a computer and you like using a computer or simply want to learn how to become a software developer, again, this is the place for you. Again, no prerequisites. No prerequisites besides the bare minimum of knowing how to use a computer. Okay? Okay, let's begin. Again, my name is Rebecca Regimbert. I'm a self-taught software developer with over 10 years of experience. I'm going to teach you how to become a software developer, full stack web developer, one of the best entry points for software development. Again, if you're not interested in web development, by the way, consider full stack web developer as a synonym of web developer. Again, I still recommend you to stay because I'm going to give you some good advice. And I'm making this video because I really like my job and I think you will also love it. That's why I'm making this video. And as I told you before, there are no prerequisites. The only prerequisite is that you know how to use a computer. Okay, so who is this video for? This video is for people who are interested in becoming a software developer but have no idea how to. Okay, so if you simply have, I don't know, watch a hacker movie and you want to become a coder and do coding, or you simply think it's a good career, because it is, you are in the correct place. Like, I'm gonna teach you everything you'll need to know for free, and all the resources I'm gonna be listing here are gonna be 100% free, no strings attached. So I think you're gonna love this. Okay, so the first question you should ask yourself is, should I become a developer? The answer is yes, if you are a creative person, want a career with relatively strong job conditions, don't expect to become rich, and love building amazing things. So I want to emphasize on the second point because it's true that software developers have generally very good job conditions, but this is a generalization. Of course, there's going to be people who are struggling a lot. There's going to be people who are swimming in money. But I would say that if you want to improve your job conditions, I think it's a great career. Also, take into consideration that you can work remotely. It's a very flexible career. So if you're a person who, for example, values a lot the work-life balance, I think this is a great career. Okay, then you should ask yourself why you should not become a developer. If you are in a dire financial situation and need a job as soon as possible, close this video and watch it another time. Okay, I'm adding this disclaimer because a lot of people get into software developing because they are under a lot of stress. And I don't think that you should do that. Becoming a software developer can take months or years. And it's a lot of trial and error, especially getting your first job. So it's not easy. It's something that you can do if you put the effort. But if you're in a dire situation, if you are I don't know, something like, oh my God, I need the money now. Really, this is a long-term plan. This is a mid-long-term plan. Don't expect to become a developer in a couple of weeks. There have been people who have become a developer in a couple of months, but I don't think they are the majority, especially now. We're in a very competitive market. There's still room for new people to enter, but yeah, it's not a good career if you're in a rush. I'm sorry. So if that is your situation, close the video. But if you are a student and you have time, or you are someone who has a more or less a stable job and you have like some months, maybe up to a year to learn and practice and develop things, yeah, I think you should definitely try it. Okay, so why am I making this video? Because you will have noticed that the internet is flooded with a lot of resources. Okay, so there are countless resources on how to become a software developer, as I just said, and beginners can easily get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information. I wanted to create a straightforward guide that puts the entire roadmap in one place. I think that less is more. Also, many creators teach what they know rather than what you actually need. This also applies to me in a general sense because everyone teaches what they know, but I see a lot of people try to teach a lot of details or a lot of, let's say, not priority information to beginners. And I think they do this first by accident, but sometimes they do it because they want to sell you something. And I really believe this can be dangerous, even if we or they do it not on purpose. So I want to create a guide that is as straightforward and as simple as possible. Because my objective with this guide is that you can learn to become a developer and you get the skills to become a developer, to get a job and start working as a developer and earning money. I'm gonna cover my advice on how to get your first job in another video. Again, here I'm gonna cover the skills, but again, I'm gonna guide you on how to get the basic skills to get your first job. That's what I was trying to say. So I will try to give you skills that you can learn more or less easily, more or less, because you will have to put a lot of effort, and something that can be useful in the short term. Okay? So again, if you want a practical guide, you are in the correct place. And a practical and a very complete guide that has everything you need to know, you are in the correct place. Okay, so index. In this guide, you learn what is a software developer, what are some of the main branches of software development, what is a full-stack web developer, the same type of developer that I am, what free resources do I recommend, and why do I recommend learning full-stack web development. Note, even if you don't want to become a full-stack web developer, I recommend you stay. This is what I said before, but I repeat it here again. I think this guide is gonna, if you simply don't know what to do, you're like, I want to write code or I want to become a software developer, but I have no idea where to start. I think this is a great guide because I really believe that web development or full stack web development is a great starting career, a great starting point for entering into the software development world. And later you can change if you so desire relatively easily. Okay, so let's start. One last thing. All the resources are going to be in the description. So if you're in a rush, which you shouldn't, but if you're in a rush and you want to take a look at the description. These slides are also going to be in the description. Okay, so according to the Cambridge Dictionary, a software is the instructions that control what a computer does. And a developer is a person or a company that makes money from buying land, building new houses, offices, etc., or by changing existing buildings to sell. So, a software developer is someone who makes money by building instructions that control a computer. This is my definition, but I think it's very reasonable after taking a look at the Cambridge definition. So I think it's not a bad definition. Emphasis on build. Software development is not only coding. So if you have seen a movie about hackers on how they type very fast on a keyboard, yes, typing fast on a keyboard is part of the thing, even though typing fast is not that important. Like, it's more important to type the correct things. This is not the core thing of software developing. Software developing is about building those instructions that give orders to a computer. And it's not just only the coding. It's not just only giving the instructions. It's structuring the instructions, is planning the instructions, is taking into consideration all the little details, is having a product mentality so you know what you're building, is having an architect mentality so you know that you're going to build something that is stable and fulfills a purpose. So even though AI is taking a lot of, let's say, importance on the coding part, because it's a great tool to code, you are still needed. So I don't think software developers are in a dangerous position because AI is helping them a lot. especially in the coding part, but we still need software developers who know how to architect software, who know how to build complex structures and maintain them. So coding is part of it, but it's not the only part. Okay, so what are some of the main branches of software development? You can become a video game developer, you can become an AI developer, you can become a DevOps. DevOps basically are the people who build the structure, that is needed for other code to run. So it's the software that it's the structural software that is needed to run other software. You can become an app developer, you can become a web developer like I am, but there's a lot of branches, okay? Okay, so what is a full stack web developer? So what is what I do? And later I'm gonna cover why do I recommend you to also become a full stack web developer. Okay, so a full stack web developer is someone who is responsible for building both the interface of an application and the control mechanisms to access the restricted data necessary to make a web app work. I'm going to expand this definition later, but again, basically, you are the one responsible to make web apps work. So when you go to a website, you are the one responsible to make sure that people can interact with the website and the website works and does what it's supposed to do. Okay, so why do I recommend becoming a full stack web developer? Okay, so almost all economies need full stack web developers. You are not competing with uni graduates. It's cheap to learn, no need for expensive equipment, and it's relatively fast to learn. And also, it's a great starting point to learn other areas of software development. Okay, let me go point by point. Okay, so almost all economies need full stack web developers. Okay, I think, for example, if you want to become an AI developer, you may be you may become rich if you live in San Francisco, but maybe you're not living in San Francisco. I'm from Spain, so I'm not living in San Francisco. And for people like us that don't live in super developed economies, because Spain is developed, but we're not California. There are certain positions that may be harder for us to get because simply the economy is not that developed. But almost all economies, except maybe economies that are at war, need full stack web developers because companies need developers to build apps web apps that allow, for example, trucks to know where they have to go, or for supermarkets to know how many stock they have and how to refurbish the stock, refill the stock. You need developers to, for example, build commerce websites. You need developers to, do a lot of things. You need developers to do dashboards so finance people can do their finance things, or all these type of things. So I think all economies need full stack web developers. So I think it doesn't matter where you live. I think you can find a job as a full stack web developer. Then you're not competing with uni graduates. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you don't have a university degree, and even if you do, I'm going to assume it's not related to software development. And when you learn all of the things you have to learn, you start to get a job, and you start, to try to get a job, you want to have as less competition as possible. And in this guide, I'm going to teach you, or I'm going to give you the path so you can learn things that are not taught at university. I went to university for a year, and I'm telling you, we didn't even bother with these topics. So if you don't want to compete with university graduates, I think this guide is for you, which is great, because when employers want to hire, they try to hire university graduates unless there's a good reason not to. And if you follow this guy, they're gonna have a good reason not to hire a university graduate and hire you instead. And that reason is gonna be that you have knowledge that they don't have, which is great. So I think that's another good reason to become a full stack web developer. Then it's cheap to learn, no need for expensive equipment. Everything is free. All the learning resources are free on the internet, and all the equipment you need is a computer. It doesn't even have to be like a very expensive computer, like a regular laptop or an old PC will do. It's relatively fast to learn, so you don't need to go to university. You can learn it in a year or so. Some people will take less, some people will take more, but it's not gonna take like 4 years if you put the effort. Or it's not gonna require you to go to university, which is great. And it's a great starting point to learn other areas of software development. So once you learn how to become a full stack web developer or a web developer, you will be able to migrate to other areas pretty easily. For example, you like to build mobile apps. That's great because web development and app development, mobile app development have a lot of things in common. So you will transition pretty easily. You want to work in AI. Okay, that's a more like far away field, but that field, AI development, normally requires people to have a graduate degree, a university degree. So if you can prove to the employer that you have previous experience as a software developer, that is going to help you a lot. And also you will already know how to code and you will already know how to do a lot of things that AI developers do. So if you want to migrate into other areas that are more difficult to access, a full stack web development is a great starting point that lets you migrate in the future. Okay, so why almost everyone can become a full stack web developer? I don't like the almost, but I included it. I included it because I believe, because there's always going to be exceptions, but I don't agree with the concept of almost. I think everyone can become one. Okay, so the reasons are you don't need to be a genius. So there's this stereotype that developers and software developers are like genius at math. They don't. Some of them are, but it's not necessary. For example, I'm not a genius at math. I'm not very good at math. So I learned, for example, that 3 multiplied by 2 is the same as 2 multiplied by 3 when I was 16 or 17. And I learned that by myself, buying a book from the internet called Mathematics for the Non-Mathematician by Maurice Klein. It's a very good book. So as you can see, I'm not good at mental math. So I'm not a genius, and I'm still a developer. So if I am a developer, you can also become a developer. It's a job with future. AI will not replace us. As I said before, AI does a lot of the coding part, but we still need people that structure the software. We still need people that do all this architectural work of making sure the structure works, and basically the AI is not building a slop that is going to be completely useless. So even though AI is going to be very important, it's not going to replace us. In fact, it's making us more productive, and it's opening us a lot of doors as developers. So I think it's a job with future. The third point, it's very accessible, as I said before. Easy to learn. You don't have to be a genius. You need to put the effort, but it's not rocket science. And again, you can learn it with any type of computer. Even an old computer will do. And again, all the resources are free on the internet. And also, you just need to put effort. So I think that's why everyone can become a full stack web developer. Okay, so now we can start with the technical part. The first thing you will have to learn is how to build an interface. So you will have to learn how to do the frontend. This is called the frontend, the interface. And then you will have to learn how to manage securely the restricted data of an app, because you don't want people, for example, to buy products they have not paid for. And this is called the backend. So you will have to learn the frontend and the backend. Okay, so what is the frontend? The frontend is the interface of the app. The text, the images, the buttons, the forms, the animations. In simpler words, everything that you see in an app. This is a great frontend example. Okay, so this is the Apple website. You can visit this website here. Like basically, it's a website to buy a Mac Mini. I'm not an Apple user, but I really like this website. I think Apple has great designers and they have very good interfaces. I think they are very good at building their websites. And basically what we can see here is we can see the product that the user wants to buy. We can see all the different options. If you scroll in the website, you will be able to choose all the different options. We can see here that the user can see different images. You can see that the user can also speak to an assistant if they need help. And basically all of this is frontend. So basically, this is the interface of the app. These are all the images, the text, the colors. But not only this, it's also the interactive parts, the way of selecting a product, the way of changing the price. So the price is updated and the person knows what is he gonna pay. The different animations, the different things that happen when you scroll because the images change and there are messages that appear to the user. Also all the shipping process, all the different forms that the user is going to encounter, the checkout form, all of this, basically everything the user sees is the front end. Not just the colors, not just the text, not just the images, everything, including the logic and including all the interactive parts. Okay, I think this is a great example of what the front end can do because it's very clean, but it's also very powerful and it's very well organized. But I think you get an idea of what the front end is. Again, everything you can see. Okay, and then we need the other half of the cake. What is the backend? The backend is the system that controls the access to the restricted information. All the internet is a bunch of computers connected together. Okay, let me explain this. Basically, when you're building an app, for example, the one we just saw before, like the Apple app, the Apple web app. Again, you don't want people to buy things if they have not paid for. You don't want people to, for example, change the stock. Maybe you don't want people to say, oh, we are run out of computers or we run out of whatever. You want a way to control what people can do. And this is the job of the backend. The backend basically is the restricted data. And basically, it's a system that controls what the user does. And it allows the user to do exactly what you want them to do. Not what you want them to do, but what you allow them to do. Again, to put an example, you block the user from changing the price of items. You block the user for ordering things they have not paid for. You block the user for I don't know, doing weird things. So yeah, and also if the user pays for something, you keep track of what they have paid. You keep track of what is the status of their delivery. You inform the delivery driver of that he has to deliver a product to the user. Again, so all this restricted data and all this control is done by the backend. The second point I made here is because all the internet is a bunch of computers connected together, which is true. I'm adding this here because in the same way that you use a computer, for example, to access the internet, you have to understand that there's another computer you're connected to that is giving you the information. Okay? So when you're doing the backend, what you're really doing is giving orders to another computer where users connect to, even though they don't know they are connecting to another computer, and you're giving orders to this computer on how to interact with these users. Okay? So this is what a backend developer does. Okay, and this is a backend example. We have discussed what the backend was, which basically it's the way we control access to the restricted data. And here we have a backend example. I've taken this example from this website called planetscale.com. They offer products for developers. They offer databases. You don't need to know what that is for now. But basically, they offer a service for developers to store permanent information, like this one here. And basically, this is a backend example where we have some restricted information that we don't want the user to, the customers to, or the employees to modify at their will. We want them to be able to interact with it, but we don't want them to give them full access to it. So for example, here we have a system where we register customers with an identification code, employees with an identification code, products with identification code, and orders. And we link them together. For example, let's say a customer wants to buy something. So for example, they can enter the website, they can interact with the front end, they can select the specs of the thing they want to buy, and they can submit an order. And we, as the backend, can take this information and we can create an order. But take into consideration this, the customer cannot simply create as many orders as they want. No. We have to make sure the order is paid, we have to make sure the customer is valid, we have to make sure the product exists, and we have to make sure the user has paid, the customer has paid. Okay, so once the user has done this and we have made sure that everything has been done correctly because we are the backend, we're responsible for accessing and modifying this restricted information, we can, for example, create an order for the customer. And we can link the order to an employee that's going to take this order and it's going to process it. Maybe the employee is going to build the computer, it's going to put all the specifications in the machine and prepare the computer and deliver the computer. And we can keep track of this because we have the information of the employee, we have the information of the customer, we have the information of the product, and we have the information of the order. And again, we are modifying all of this in a controlled way because we don't want any of these actors, neither the customer nor the employee, to be able to modify this at their will. We don't want the employees to say, I don't want to work, I'm not going to take this order. We don't want customers to be like, hey, I'm not going to pay. I'm going to take this order, but I'm not going to pay. The job of the backend is to take all this information the front end says, because the customer is using a web page with a beautiful form to submit these orders, and the employees are using a dashboard to access this information. We want to take this information that the users and the customers and the employees are sending us, and we want to administer it, we want to take control of it, and modify this information accordingly so we can register all of this. Again, we are allowing the customers and the employees to create orders or interact with orders, but at the same time, we're doing this in an organized manner because, again, we want the app to work and we want to avoid hackers, for example, destroying the system and making the app useless. That's the job of the backend. And I think this is a very good example. Okay, so how do I learn to build an interface, the front end? Okay, so let's go back to the front end. So to do this, you will learn how to build an interface structure. Okay, so basically what the user sees. Of course, what the user sees, but you will need to build the bare bone structure. So you will need to build like the most basic thing. Okay, so you will need to set up the text, set up the images, set up the buttons, set up the forms, and you do this with HTML. You build the structure of the website with HTML. Then you will want to learn how to style the interface, and you will do this with CSS. Basically, you are going to add colors to the website. You are going to add animations to the website, and you are going to do this with CSS. You want to also structure the website because you don't want the website to simply be a list of things. You want the things to move. You want the things to be one next to the other one. Again, so if you want to control also how the structure is displayed, you also use CSS. And then you want to learn how to make the interface interactive. So you want the user to be able to submit forms. You want the user to be able to see pop-ups. You want the user to be able to, for example, customize their order. So the page is not just a dead page. The page is something that the user interact with and the user can explore. And you do this with JavaScript. Okay? And when you have learned this, you will have to learn how to use power tools to build the interfaces faster and more efficiently. In this case, you will use React. That's the one I recommend, and that's the most popular one, and that's the one that the majority of companies want. So yeah, you should learn this. So in summary, you build the structure, you style the structure, you make the structure interactive, and then you have a beautiful user interface. And then how do you build the backend? So how do you manage these restricted information? Okay, so the first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to learn a language to handle logic. You, for example, can use JavaScript. It's the same one that you use for the frontend, but in a completely different environment. You will learn to use a tool to run this logic on a private computer, in this case, Node.js. So you want to run this logic in a private computer, and you do this with Node.js. It's like the engine that lets you do this. You will want to learn a tool to connect the interface with the private computer. You will do this with Express. And you will want to learn how to store permanent data. And you will do this with SQL and ORM. Basically, you create some logic. You run this logic in a private computer. You make this computer be able to interact with other computers. And you store permanent information or semi-permanent information. You want to make sure that you register the orders. You want to register the people that sign up. You want to register everything that's going on. And you do this with this technology here, SQL, which is basically like a spreadsheet technology. So it's a tool that allows you to store things like in a spreadsheet. And then you use URM. That basically, this is a tool that allows you to interact with this database, with this spreadsheet much more easily. And one very popular ORM that I will recommend you is called Prisma. But don't worry about this. I will give more details later. Okay, so how do I learn all of this? It depends on how you like to learn things. So, what if you like reading? If you like reading, these two resources are amazing. They basically have everything you need to know in one place. The first one is called the Odin project, and the other one is called the University of Helsinki. They are very similar in the way that, again, everything you need to know is here. So if you have to pick only one resource or only two resources, pick these two. Even if you hate reading, even if you don't want to read, pick them anyway. Why? Because they are so complete that if you ever get stuck, if you are ever like in a situation where you don't know how to continue, simply taking a look at these resources is going to help you massively. I cannot stress this enough. I really love these resources, and I think you should take a look at them, and they are going to help you a lot. So really, take a look at them. They are They are real gold. They are amazing resources. These are I know there may be religious people here, but these are like the Bibles or the secret books of full stack web development. Like, I really believe they are very complete books. And what if you like interactive apps? Okay, in this case, I recommend this resource called FreeCodeCamp. It's basically the Duolingo for full stack web development. By the way, I think I didn't explain what full stack means. Full stack is someone who does both the front end and the back end. Okay, it's because it's the full stack, it's the complete stack. Even if you only like one area of web development, you should learn how to become a full stack web developer, because the front end and the back end, the interface and the access to the restricted area are very related things. So you should know how they interact with one another. Okay, so I recommend this resource a lot. I really love it. But you need to know this resource teaches you how to build the backend with Python, not with JavaScript. So maybe you will remember that before I said that the backend had to be built now, but that you should learn how to build the backend with JavaScript. And I really like JavaScript. That's why I told you this. And I think it's a very modern technology. But there are other technologies as good as JavaScript for building the backend. And Python is one of them. So the only difference between everything in this course and this video, this app, is that this app teaches you how to build the backend in Python, not in JavaScript. Again, both are great technologies. Both are amazing technologies. You cannot go wrong with either of them, but no, this is the difference. Okay, moving on. And what if you like YouTube videos? If you like YouTube videos, I recommend this channel over here. This channel, Traversy Media, is an amazing YouTube channel. I think the guy is very talented, and I think the guy makes great videos. And I recommend that you start here. This is a video that basically covers a roadmap on how to become a full stack web developer. And basically, it's an expansion of this video. Okay, so it's going to cover things that I mentioned here and other things. So if you want a more detailed guide, go here. I think this is an amazing second step after watching this video. And also, once you have watched this video and you have a roadmap of what you want to learn that you can extract from this video or from this other video, simply search the keywords in his YouTube channel and watch the courses he has. Again, he has great courses. Okay. Again, finally, other useful tools. I recommend Gemini Notebooks. Gemini Notebooks is a tool that basically is an AI tool that lets you upload some content into the AI, and you can ask questions about that particular content. Okay, so it's great because it allows you to use AI to learn, and also it's a tool that allows you to build flashcards and build even memory cards and podcasts from the learning resource. And it's great. I really believe it's an amazing tool, and it's free, so feel free to use it. It has a premium tier, but it's made by Google, so I think it's very quality content. And the other tool I recommend is called OpenCode. Use this tool only when you have learned the fundamentals. Okay, so OpenCode is a way to code with AI. Okay, it's an open source tool, meaning it's a tool that you can inspect and you can learn everything from it, and it's completely, you can download everything. It's not like Windows where you don't know exactly what's going on behind the behind the cover. This one is a completely open source tool that you can inspect and analyze as much as you can, and you can use it to code using AI. Thanks. And you can use it to code using AI. And the good thing also is that it offers a very good deal. You can use this service here called OpenCode Go. It's a premium service, but it costs like $10 a month to use a lot of very powerful Chinese models to code, which is amazing. It's a very good deal. So once you have learned the fundamentals, if you want to learn, if you want to start working as a developer, as a person who's getting paid, download the app, pay the subscription, and start practicing. Again, just when you have done the fundamentals, just after you have learned the fundamentals, but again, it's a great tool. About AI and learning, I recommend that you use AI first as like a teacher, but not as the coder. And once you have more familiar with the code, use it to code. Like the majority of people now build 80 or 90% of their code using AI, and I think it would be also good for you to learn how to do this, because this is how full stack web developers work nowadays. Okay, so we're reaching the end of the video. So before you leave, remember, this is just some guidelines. You should choose your own path, but don't get overwhelmed by the amount of information you will find on the internet. I'm mentioning this because, again, feel free to customize this path as you like, but don't get overwhelmed. Like, really, like, if you get into too many rabbit holes, you're gonna realize that you're gonna spend a lot of time and you're gonna get frustrated, and it's not productive. It's not a good idea. Okay, so what I recommend is simply try to customize the path if you so desire. So, for example, pick the resources that you like. I have offered you like written resources. I have offered you YouTube videos. I have offered you interactive apps. So pick the resources that you like, but don't explore too much because you don't want to be saturated with information. I think that what I teach you is the fundamentals, the things that you need to get your first job, and I think that you should focus on that, learning this and then getting your first job. And again, in a future video, I'm gonna teach you how to land your first job. Okay, and goodbye. Thanks for watching this video. Leave your questions in the description. I'm very nervous because this is my first YouTube video. I've tried to record other ones, but they were very disastrous. So this is my first like big YouTube video, and I've made it with a lot of love. So I hope you love it. I hope you love it as much as I loved building it. So please let me know if you have anything for me, if you have any doubts, and hope I see you in the future with the next video where I teach you how to land your first job. It has been a pleasure to be here, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So have a wonderful life and happy coding, and welcome to this wonderful world of software development. Bye bye, ciao ciao.